What's up YouTube, Dow here from Z4 Games, and today I'm going to bring you Exosisters. So this is one of the brand new art types out of Grand Creators, and this is also going to be post Banlist. So literally I recorded this profile this morning and the Banlist made a change to the deck. You'll see it when we get into it, but I'll also explain what I've taken out for its replacements and what other alternatives you do have. With all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe. If you get this video up to at least 50 likes, I will bring either a duel or test stand video for this deck as well. With all of that out of the way, let's dive headfirst into Exosisters. So Exosisters is the brand new art type in Grand Creators that revolves around XYZs. They do get probably the best line of support coming out in May, as they do get a brand new XYZ monster. So we start off with the highest rarity main deck monster, and that is of course Sophia. Now all of the Exosisters share the same effect, that if your opponent moves a card from the graveyards, you can special summon out a XYZ Exosister from your extra deck on top of that one material. They will then gain additional effects from that place on. Now with Sophia is if you control another Exosister monster, you get to draw a card. Then if you control Arlene, you can gain 800 life points. So each of the Exosisters has a counterpart. So speaking of Irene, so we play 2 Irene. I feel that this is the worst one of all 4 of them, but it's still you still need to play it, and it's still very, very good. So you can place an Exosister card from your hand onto the bottom of the deck to draw a card. Then if you control Exosister Sophia, you gain 800 life points. Now the monsters will let you gain the life points, the spells and traps will deduct them. We'll then go to what is possibly the best Exosister, and that is Elise. Now this one is if you control an Exosister monster, you can special on this card from the hand, and if you control Stella, you gain 800 life points. So of course we are playing triple Stella. So during the main phase, you can special summon an Exosister monster from your hand, and if you control Elise, you gain 800 life points. So you can kind of see the way the synergy works. You could ideally want to go Stella, effect to summon down Sophia, and then special summon Elise. That will then give you a draw. It will then give you a 3 monsters on the board, so it means you can make an XYZ during your turn, and then you can ideally, if your opponent triggers the effect, make them during your opponent's turn. Now, the biggest issue with this deck is initially when I first read it, I thought it said if a card or cards is moved from either graveyard, or if you moved a card from your opponent's graveyard, I was like, great, DD Crow's going to put in so much work for this. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It relies on your opponent to banish cards. Now, yes, that's going to be very good against stuff like Tri Brigade. It'll be good against stuff like Tenyi as well. But the issue is, any smart Yu-Gi-Oh player is going to read the effects and know, right, okay, well, if that's going to trigger them and know what they're going to get off the back of that, because if they trigger them, you end up getting a non-target, you get a target banish, you can get one that negates from the graveyard, you've got a monster effect negator as well. So it actually gives you a lot of utility, and it all requires 1 monster. So if you end up having 3 different Exosisters on the board, you can get 3 different XYZs on the board. So it's something that a smart Yu-Gi-Oh player will play around, which is why you need to play cards in the deck that allow you to trigger that own effect during their turn as well. So for the spells of the Exosisters, we are playing triple packs. This card is actually really good. So during the main phase, you pay 800 life points to add an Exosister card from the deck to the hand, except itself. Then if you added a monster by this effect, you can special summon it if in your graveyard or field is a card that lists it in its text. So basically what that means is, if you add Stella and you've got Elise in the grave or on the field, you can then special summon that card, which is actually really good should you use that during your opponent's turn, because then you set up 2 Exosisters, or you use it as a free extender during your turn, because your main Exosister XYZ, Michaelis, is then going to be able to search this out for you nice and easily. We've then got Double Armament. So this is the card and the only way you can pretty much trigger your XYZ summons during your opponent's turn. Like, you can run the traps, but at least this is searchable. So you pay 800 life points to target an Exosister monster you control, special summon 1 Exosister XYZ from your extra deck with a different name from the card you control, by using that target as material. This is treated as an XYZ summon and transfer its materials across. Only activate 1 of this card per turn, and you can only activate this card during your opponent's turn unless they control a monster special from the graveyard. So the chances are you're going to set this, you're going to pass and play off the back of that. Now, the reason we've only got for 2 is because, again, it's searchable, but it's one of the cards you don't really want your opponent to know you have. Because once they know you have it, they'll then try and play around it. And there's a lot for them to kind of do and a way to play around the monsters because the main deck monsters are so weak. They're like 800 attacks and defenses that your opponent can literally just go, right, battle phase with any of their monsters, attack it, deal with it, and then go to main phase 2. So that's when they can start banishing, and that's how they dodge all of the XYZs. And also, once they kind of realize what the XYZs do, they might be like, okay, well, if it's only one bounce, I don't need to worry about it. Or if it's only this, I don't need to worry about it. And they can play around it quite easily. The last one we've got is the Exosister Carvidium. So I actually really like the artwork on this. This one you could arguably cut and will probably become the third of the armament. But neither player can target Exosister monsters you control with effects of monsters that are special from the graveyard. Now, literally, the first pilot sentence is amazing. It's what you want. It's a continuous spell. You can search it. Neither player can target Exosister monsters you control. Boom. Done. Don't need to worry about Imperm. Don't need to worry about Veiler. You're good to play the game. But unfortunately, it's only for monsters from the graveyard. I mean, it's as if we've got a monster that can be spawned from the graveyard continually that doesn't target and destroys. DPE. So, yeah. Its second effect is if you XYZ summon an Exosister monster, you declare one card name. Negate the activation and effects of that card on the field, or cards with that original name until the end of this turn. So that's kind of nice that it becomes a pseudo prohibition, but it does rely on you to XYZ summon. So that can be kind of good in the sense if you know your opponent is going to be playing a very specific card, you are able to lock it down a little bit and kind of go from there. The third effect is when an attack is declared involving your Exosister monster, you target a spell, track your opponent controls, and destroy it. That's kind of cool, but again, I very rarely expect that, unless you're going to go second and do this, which will be good, going first, your opponent's not really going to like set their spells and traps before they declare an attack, so they're not going to worry about it. The final Exosister card is 2 Vadis. Now, you can play 3 if you want. I really like this card, so you pay 800 life points, you choose one Exosister monster from your deck, and then take another Exosister monster from your deck that is mentioned on that card text. So you take the pairs together. So I believe it's Sophia and Irene, Elise, and Stella. You take them both, you special summon them both, but shuffle them into the deck during the end phase of this turn. After this card resolves, you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck except Exosisters. So this is really good if you were to hold on to it until your second turn. But the idea is you want to trigger it during your opponent's turn. So in the example of you've got one Exosister, your opponent goes to battle phase, kills it off, and then wants to try and make effects in main phase 2. You go, okay, activate Vadis. That then means that they're either going to turn them into XYZs, which means they're not going to get shuffled back, or they're going to not play around with their effects and let those cards get shuffled back into the deck. Then because you've got a lot of space, you can actually play a very decent hand trap lineup. So triple Ash Blossom alongside double Veiler and triple Imperm. If you have the money and if you wanted to, there's a lot of interchangeable sections within the deck. So if you've got the money, you can easily be playing stuff like Droplets. You can play the Brave token engine because the deck, apart from Stella, doesn't rely on the normal summon. And as long as you don't normal summon Sophia, you haven't got to worry about making that play. So in theory, you could like normal summon any of them, not use their effects, and then special summon down Irene, and you're able to pretty much make your XYZ plays from there. It's an option. I'm not saying it's the best option, but it is one that you can look into if you want to, and you want to play around with it. So moving on as well, we've got 2 Forbidden Chalice, and then the new card that I've put in is 2 Cosmic Cyclone, and I put these in post-Banlist because I did play 3 Desires, and now you can only play 1. So with the 2 remaining spaces, you've got a couple of options depending on what you have access to. If you want to try and replace the draw, you do go for something like Triple Tactic Talents and kind of build off the back of that. Off of the news that there are going to be like triple skill drains now in decks, I thought that the Cosmic Cyclone would be a better option. But again, if you want to, those 2 card space can become a 3rd Chalice. It become more of your other 2-ofs of your trap cards as well. It really comes down to your personal preference. And like I said, there's a lot of flexibility. I think apart from the Exosister monster lineup, which is 3, 3, 3, and 2, the rest of it is all down to your personal opinion. For the last one of the spells, we've got the 1 Call by the Grave and the 1 Double or Nothing. Like, again, I've tried to avoid, if you wanted to, you could easily put in the Fusion Destiny package, you put Dragoon package in. It's very easy to get 2 monsters on the board and then go Verte Goon. But I kind of went with the Double or Nothing. Because it's all XYZ based, it actually works really, really nicely with a trap card that I'll show you later on, which I think is pretty cool for this deck. And it's putting a lot of work for me on Master Duels, and it's kind of influenced me adding this to this build. For the trap cards, we've got triple Phantomite Shade Brigandine. This is for the pure fact that, considering your XYZ monsters are generic, all you really need is 1 Exosister material. So the idea behind this would be that if my opponent like imperms or stops or slows down my play, or I only open up one Exosister, I can still make an XYZ, and as soon as I get to Michaelis, I then get to search out an Exosister spell or trap. And that kind of goes from that point on as well, because that then allows you to continue your plays, whether you go for packs, whether you go for Vadis. It's all really, really good. And it also opens up the door for Time Thief Reader, which can become a disruption on itself. And like I said, if you do open up like combo, or even if you don't open up combo, if you just open up 2 Exosisters and get into Michaelis can then search you out packs. You can then activate packs to search you Elise. You can then special summon down Elise. You can then activate the Shade Brigandine, and that gives you 2 XYZs, which can then go into Utopic Draco Future, or you can sit on a Time Thief Reader plus a Michaelis and kind of go from there. Then for the last 2 hours, we've got 2 Solemn Strike and 2 Gozen Match. Gozen Match is the card that I haven't seen anyone play, and I'm like, what? Why? Like, all of your Exosisters are lights, all of your Exosister XYZs are lights. Zeus is a light, which is one of your big boss monsters that goes on top of your XYZs, alongside the Double or Nothing package as well, alongside the Utopia package. So you've actually got a lot to play around with, and I think Gozen, being able to play a Floodgate like this in a main deck, is incredibly powerful. Because you look at all stuff like Sword Soul, you look at stuff like Tri-Brigades, you look at the stuff that might now be effective through the ban list that will maybe come back or maybe play a little bit more. Gozen really, really hurts them, especially if they're trying to play DPE as well, because then it's like, if they've already got an attribute on the board that isn't dark, you lock them under DPE and they pretty much fold. If you lock your opponent under, with Brave tokens, if you lock their token under Gozen Match, they then can't continue their plays, because I'm pretty sure the token is like water, and then the bird is wind, and then obviously if they're playing Phantom Lights, it's all dark, so they just can't play. So I think Gozen is actually really, really good to kind of slow other decks down, so that you can kind of, with a deck like this, you have to kind of keep up, and slowing your opponent's deck down rather than trying to speed your deck up is actually a much better and more effective solution. Moving on to the extra deck, we are playing a nice little range of the Sisters. So we are going with 2 of the Michaelis. So this is the main card right now. This is the ultra rare. So can't be destroyed by battle with a monster special from the graveyard. It is generic rank 4, but if it is used, you can only use the effect once per turn. And if you control this card that was XYZ summoned this turn by using an Exosister monster you control as material, you gain the quick effect to target a card your opponent controls or in their graveyard and banish it. Now that doesn't need you to detach, which is why it's so good to just get 1 Exosister on it. You then have a once per turn effect, which sadly isn't quick effect, to detach a material to then add a Exosister spell or trap from your deck to the hand. So you can kind of see the utility behind that and how you're pretty much aiming to add your packs or your Vadis and kind of move your plays from that point on. The counterpart that shares the same first effect, so can't be destroyed by battle with a monster special from the graveyard, gains the additional effect as well. So if it is XYZ summoned with an Exosister this turn, neither player can special summon monsters from the graveyard for the rest of this turn. And you can detach a material from this card to add an Exosister monster. So you can kind of see how the Capistel and the Michaelis kind of go side and side, which basically works like their counterparts as well. Then on the other side of this, we are playing only 1 of each of those. We've got the 1 Jabrain and we've got the 1 Asasfel, so Sophia and I believe it's Elise. Okay, there's too many similar names. Irene, sorry. So the Irene or the Jabrain is actually really kind of good. So both of them have the same first effect, that they can't be destroyed by the activated effects of monster special from the graveyard. So the other 2 are destroyed by battle. These ones are destroyed by card effects, which is quite nice. If it is summoned, XYZ summoned this turn using an Exosister monster as material, you get a quick effect to target 1 effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effect until the end of this turn. You can detach a material from this card. The rest of this turn, all XYZs you control gain 800 attack. Now, I would have liked the gain 800 attack to be quick effect as well, because your XYZs aren't that strong. So it is something to kind of keep in mind. The Asphel as well. So if it is XYZ summoned using an Exosister this turn, neither player can activate cards or effects in the graveyard. You can detach a material from this card to target a monster your opponent controls and return it to the hand. Again, I would have liked that effect to be a quick effect, because then it just gives you more utility of what you're trying to build with this particular deck. Then we'll go through the generic rank 4s, and then I'll show you all of the engines that are interchangeable as well. So you've got the 1 Tornado Dragon. Again, I think with stuff like Skill Drain around as well, you kind of need to have some natural back row hate and general removal for decks like this right now. And then, of course, the other generic one is Time Thief Reader. Like I said, it's entirely up to you. You've got so much space to play around with all of the XYZs in this deck. It's entirely up to you on where you want to go with it and what type of engines you want to use. Speaking of which, for the defensive engine, of course, we do play the Utopic Future and Utopic Draco Future. So the pure fact that all of your XYZs are 4s and they're not numbers. So you get 2 of them on board, you go straight into your Topic Draco Future. You've got a very nice, powerful boss monster there. For the OTK play, you've got your double and your Utopia. Again, it's just the fact that you can bait out a lot of things, still get 2 level 4s on the board, make Utopia double into Utopia to double, and then just win game from that point on. And then finally, again, for aggression, board wipe, you name it, you've got a nice little zoo package of chuck a 9 into Borbo. In case your opponent tries to wall up or they try to turn it off, you just go straight into Borbo, attack directly, deal with 0 damage, doesn't matter, make Zeus. Zeus is going to have 4 materials, so it's going to be able to clear board quite nice and easily. And then, of course, the 1 Zeus to do that. And that's pretty much it. The extra deck is entirely up to you, again, on personal preference of what you want to play, the route you want to go, and how you want to take it. But I still think the deck is quite fun. It's relatively cheap. Like, you can pick up a full core on tier 0 games for like 70 quid, I believe. So, in my opinion, it's definitely worth it. It might come down a little bit, and they are going to be getting new support come May as well. So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see where this deck goes from here. Again, because it relies on your opponent to do stuff, I don't expect it to be meta or tier 0, but I still expect it to be a fun, entertaining deck to play around with, and something to kind of change up and be a bit of freshness to the meta as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like I said at the start, if you want to see more profiles from Grand creators, or you want to see more from this particular deck, please make sure you smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. With all of that out of the way, guys, thank you so much for watching. As absolutely always, stay safe and happy dueling.